We have the privilege of being born in the USA. Praise God. And that means certain things. Born in the USA, it means to some extent, we're made for freedom. Right? Especially here in Central Oregon. We like our space. Redmond's getting a little crowded. We want to pioneer something. Right? We want room to make mistakes and to figure things out ourselves. This is what born in the USA means. It means we're free. Now, if you're born somewhere else, maybe born in Italy, you might be born for something else. Maybe you're born for beauty, in architecture, or in paintings, or in supermodels. If you're born in Russia, it's a little tougher culture. Maybe there you're born for strength. If you are born in God, what are you made for? That's the series that we are starting this week. And I have the privilege of talking today about being born for love. Let's stand it as vertical as we can. Born for love. You are made for love in God. Yeah. Thanks, fellas. So I'm going to let you in on a little secret. God's secret recipe for love. And we're going to find that in 1 John 4. And John is a little bit of a different cat. He's not quite as logical as some of the other authors we have in the Bible. John kind of is more emotional, and he likes to mix it up. So I kind of liken it to scrambling eggs or making an omelet. So let's read together 1 John 4. We are going to start with 7, and we're going to go into chapter 5. Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. This is how God showed his love among us. He sent his one and only Son into the world, that we might live through him. This is love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son as an atoning sacrifice for our sins. Dear friends, since God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us, and his love is made complete in us. This is how we know that we live in him and he in us. He's given us his Spirit. And we have seen and testify that the Father has sent his Son to be the Savior of the world. If anyone acknowledges that Jesus is the Son of God, God lives in them, and they in God. And so we know and rely on the love God has for us. God is love. Whoever lives in love lives in God, and God in them. This is how love is made complete among us, so that we will have confidence on the day of judgment. In this world, we are like Jesus. There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love. We love because he first loved us. Whoever claims to love God yet hates a brother or sister is a liar. For whoever does not love their brother and sister whom they have seen cannot love God whom they have not seen. And he has given us this command: anyone who loves God must also love their brother and sister. Everyone who believes that Jesus is the Christ is born of God, and everyone who loves the Father loves his child as well. This is how we know that we love the children of God, by loving God and carrying out his commands. In fact, this is love for God, to keep his commands, and his commands are not burdensome. For everyone born of God overcomes the world. There is a lot of stuff in here. And instead of kind of a logical progression, I'm going to be talking about 3 different movements that are all kind of happening. One is kind of filling. What kind of main ingredients go into love? And then how do we marinate and let it cook and get ready? And then finally, how do we serve it up to others? We're going to talk about these 3 things, and we're going to draw out several phrases. And in my particular fashion, I would suggest a little bit of a word find. As we go through these phrases, I would challenge you to circle the fill words, put a line under the marinate words, and put a square around the share phrases. And because these are things that I want you to be thinking about, to identify and be thinking about. A missionary teacher who I met once, I'll never forget, he says, "I lead people to food. I don't chew it for them." And I love that. So as I ask you to circle words, underline words, or square words, I'm trying to highlight a few things for you to chew on this week. Pick a phrase or 2 and chew on it. First, we begin with the fill phrases. And before I start, my main point here, which some of you may disagree with, and that's okay, and I'd love to talk more about it with you. My main point in the ingredients that go into our love omelet, love does not originate with us. And as you think about emotions are inherently reactive. That's probably partly why they make me uncomfortable. I don't like reacting all the time. Emotions are reactive, and you probably won't disagree with me when it comes to fear or jealousy or anger, the negative emotions, because obviously, you're not just afraid of a ladder, unless you've been at the top of the ladder and one of the legs is broken and you had a bad experience, and then all of a sudden you're afraid of ladders, right? You're not just afraid of things unless you're reacting to some bad experience or you know that something could go wrong. You're reacting. Or jealousy. Somebody got something you wanted. You're reacting. Or anger. Now, it's a little bit harder to acknowledge the good emotions because in human nature, we like to blame bad things on the external and take credit for the good things. So when it comes to joy and peace and love, we like to think that those things come from us, but they don't. Joy happens when you are reacting to a gift, a child's drawing, or a sunset. You experience joy in reaction to something that you're surprised with or blessed with. And finally, love. Love is a reaction, and I'd like to have a little exercise. I would like us, for the next 10 seconds, I would like you to practice loving my former neighbor in Mongolia. His name is Inkbot. Ready, go. Do you love him yet? Right? At first I was thinking about doing that for a full minute just to make it really uncomfortable. Okay, if I really, really try to love this guy named Inkbot, can I do it? Maybe it would help if I gave you some details, like his father was a very abusive alcoholic. Does that help you a little bit? Have at least compassion, if not love, for Inkbot? What if I told you that he's the father of 5 and he is an abusive alcoholic? that makes it a little more complicated. Now you're reacting to a bunch of conflicting things about a person. But my point is that emotions, 2 minutes ago, you didn't feel anything about Inkbot. Now you have conflicting emotions about Inkbot in the moment, and 2 minutes from now, you won't feel anything about Inkbot again. That's emotions. They're fleeting. They're reactive. And yet something, moment to moment to moment throughout our lives, we have these deep, deep responses, things that either resonate with our heart and soul or things that jar our heart and soul and make us very uncomfortable to our core. That's what emotions do moment to moment, based on the core values we have for humanity. Love is a relational reaction. And I don't want to make it sterile or ugly like a chemical, some thing you mix up in a pot and things react to each other, but it is. To a great degree, we are powerless in how we react emotionally to the things around us. We can't help but get angry or get jealous or love or experience joy. Can you receive a gift and refuse to feel any joy at all? You're powerless to a great degree. And we have to admit that we can't make ourselves love or hate anyone. We can try. We can decide, for example, I really want to love black people, or I really want to hate black people. So you can go out and you can try and find reasons to love or hate. You have to work at it, though. You have to find things that you want to react to. I want to react with love towards this other culture, or I want to react with hate to this other culture. So I find things that I want to react to, and I ignore the things I don't want to react to. Nowhere is this more evident in our day and age as with our President Trump. Never in human history have I found people trying harder to either love or hate a person. They go out of their way to find reasons to really love him and believe in him or really hate him. They're trying to love or hate, but they have to find those reasons to react to. That is the culture that we are in, this melting pot of freedom. And it's kind of like a big bucket, and all these electrons are just bouncing around. Zeke and I watched Crash just a week ago, and it's kind of like that. We're just bouncing around, reacting to each other. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. And that's what's so extraordinary when the author John speaks into our situation and says, God is love. God is love. He's not bouncing around in our system, reacting to everything he runs into, sometimes good, sometimes bad. He is love. He is the origin. And it kind of makes sense that whenever we bump into love in our existence, that something deeply resonates with us. And John would say it's because it's reminding us of where we came from. It's reminding us of what we were made for. It's reminding us of the origin. God is love. And when we experience it, we experience just a bit of him. So one of the phrases that we have here is God is love. It's a main ingredient. He is the origin. And not only is he the origin above and beyond our system, but it says that he sent his Son. You see, if God designed us physically and emotionally, then he knows the function of our emotions. He knows that we need to respond to something. So he sent someone into our system for us to respond to. Because from our enclosed system, it is impossible for us to love God, just like it's impossible for you to love Inkpot. That's the problem with our evangelism, is we try and convince people God exists and he has a plan for your life, so just love him. And they're like, who's this Inkpot guy? I mean, how do you love someone you don't know? It's impossible for us to respond to God unless God comes to us and inspires a reaction. He sent his Son, for God so loved that he sent his Son. And his Son, as a perfect reflection of the Father, is absolutely lovable. Hindus, Muslims, Buddhists, everyone loves Jesus. Everyone. It doesn't matter what religion, everyone loves Jesus. He was full of patience. He was full of wisdom and affection. He was fascinating to listen to. He drew you into his stories and he cut to your heart. He looked into your eyes and he saw your soul. He was absolutely lovable. Everyone who encounters Jesus, from then until now, if they encounter Jesus, they love Jesus. We can't help it. We're powerless. He is love. He perfectly reflected the Father, and the fascinating thing is that when we receive that gift from God, something that we can react to with love in our world, then we have the opportunity to be born of God. We have the opportunity to become vessels of his love. Now, there's a phrase that we use a lot that I like, but would like to make better, because we often refer to ourselves as in the image of God. So God is love, and if we're in his image, then we have the capacity to love. Yes and no. Because an image, and I have a couple images. Here's my book. We have images. So I received an image of George Washington here. So I have his image, and I can now use this image however I want. So I can give an image to you because I love Zoe and want to share that image, and I can give an image to you. So I have that image, and I can use it however I want. Is that what it means to be in the image of God? And I would disagree with that. Because we have people every day who take the image of God and misuse it. They use their dollar bills to love anyone however they want to, regardless of whether it glorifies God or not. I would say it would be more accurate, especially since in Jewish law, images were forbidden. I would say a better translation is to say we are in the reflection of God. Because Adam and Eve in the garden, they knew what a reflection was. They had water. They were a reflection of God. Now, the difference between an image and a reflection is you can reproduce an image. You can't reproduce a reflection. The original has to be there with you in order to reflect it. Huge difference. So as opposed to saying God is love and we are his image, so therefore we have small amounts of ability of love to use however we want, we would say being in the image of God, being in the reflection of God, as we go in this world with his presence, being born of God, we reflect that presence to others as we go with God in our world. And this is another amazing thing. Not only did God send something for us to respond to in love, but he made us into his mirrors. The world cannot see God, but they can, because you and you and you are God's reflection in the world. They see God. They see his love because you're reflecting it. That's what it means to be born of God. He is love, and I see it in you every day. These are the main ingredients of the Christian faith. God is above and beyond this world, and he is the source, the origin of everything good. And he so loves this world that he came into it himself so that we could respond to him and relate to him through his son, Jesus. And if we believe that, then we are restored into the reflection of God. That as we relate to him and as we experience love in relationship, we begin to serve and to experience those same feelings and behaviors towards a world that's hurting and broken. These are the main ingredients of love. Next, we move on to marinate. And we have some phrases. Sometimes, depending on your translation, it might say dwell, it might say abide, or I think in the NIV it just says live in. And it says this several times because this is very important. Central in the passage. We live in his love. And you could see how scrambled egg it is because God is living in us and we are living in him and we are living in love. It's a big love omelet. And the point is you have to stay there. You have to make your home there. It's where you're supposed to be. It's where you're supposed to stay. To dwell, abide, stay put. It's your home. It's where you belong in the love of God. This is very important, and he says it, I think, 5 times in our passage, because most of us, let's be honest, are emotionally pretty immature. And in this crazy, chaotic world, we are addicted to love in a lot of unhealthy ways. And most of the people we know. In a random, cold, empty world, we try to bump into each other just so that we can feel something. Hopefully more good than bad. I'm reading slowly this book called The Sins We Love by Randy Rowland. And he talks about these coping mechanisms we develop. So we have, I'm going to try and fit this in here. We have these love indulgences. That's kind of my paraphrase. Love indulgences, where we try and feel love through greed, gluttony, and lust. We want to feel good. We want to feel love. So we take it to the excess And we need more and more and more to make us feel more and more and more love. A lot of people are stuck in these patterns of trying to feel love. And a lot of people are stuck in what I would call love rebellions. And Randy goes into it in his book. And these are sloth, where love is hard work. I'm not sure I need it that much. I think I'll just take a break from love for a while. Sloth, envy. Well, why is that person so loved? I deserve some of that. Why don't people love me like that? Rage. I love them and they hurt me, so I'm going to hurt them back. And finally, pride. I don't really need love. I'm the best at everything anyway. Why do I need them? I don't need anybody. I'll just handle everything myself. All of the deadly sins are abusive coping mechanisms trying to get love, genuine love. They're all addictions. They're either trying to get it too much of it, or they're trying to rebel against it. But it's a search for love. And that's what's so fascinating about Randy's book, is the only answer for any of these coping mechanisms is genuine love. Not more self-improvement or better coping strategies, but genuine love. Because it's what all these things are trying to get in the wrong ways. Genuine love is the only answer. And we've got to stop trying to get it and manufacture it and trying to love ourselves or trying to love other people. And we need to slow down and we need to focus and we just need to dwell. We just need to receive. Genuine love is here. It's available. Rest in it. Love is perfected. Love is made perfect. But in order to feel it, in order to reflect it, like a pond of water, you have to be still. If you're not still, you mess up the reflection. By trying to move around and make it happen and get it going or get more of it, you're messing up the reflection. Just be still. Genuine love is here. It's been sent. Be still and respond to that. Ponder what it was like for God to come into this world. Ponder what he went through to get to you. How far he had to travel, the dragons he had to slay, just in order to find you. You are so worth it to him that he went through everything. Imagine how he feels, the affection that he has for you. Dwell in it. Dwell in all the things that he does for you. He embraces you no matter what you've done. He touches you and he heals you. He lifts you up. He walks with you. He feasts with you. He puts on a huge feast. He loves you. Dwell in that. And when you dwell in that, you have no fear. When you know that the God of the universe is love and that he has done everything to love you and he will never let you go, there's no room in that for fear of any kind. Not in your love and not as you prepare to share it with people who you're not sure how they're going to respond. There's no fear. No fear. Finally, we get to share, because it's not easy to share love anymore in our culture. It's kind of dangerous. And yet we know that a society will not thrive unless all the participants are serving one another. A society doesn't work if everybody's off doing their own thing. A community has to serve one another. Now, the military protects us. The government organizes us. Businesses provide for us. The media informs us. And as neighbors, we're supposed to work together to solve our local problems. That's how a society is supposed to work. We all know that. And yet, politics and religions are trying to accomplish that through law. Right? Our politicians are trying to promote human rights. Hey, treat each other fair. They deserve it. Right? Follow the laws. If everybody just follows the laws, then we'll solve racism and harassment. Religions do the same thing. Just follow the laws and everything will be okay. But hate and extremism and superiority, all of these sins that we love, they can only really be fixed with genuine love. And Jesus is the only leader in human history who has gone beyond law to establish his community on love. A new command I give you. You must love one another. And if you do that, the laws don't matter. I mean, they matter, but they're easy, right? Keep his commands. If you love God and you dwell in his love, you say, I enjoy keeping God's laws. They're good for me. They're the best thing for me. And they're good for us. I love keeping God's laws. They're not burdensome. They're an expression of love. Or, once you become his reflection and there is no fear, you can love one another. You can say, look, I love setting aside the way that I do things in order to learn from other people and other cultures how they do things. I love that. I love setting aside what I like to do and how I think and just listening to how other people like to work and what's important to them. I love that. For diversity and equality to really work, you need preconditions of generosity and genuine love and humility. Diversity and equality don't work without those. There is no law that can make diversity and equality work. Only genuine love. Or love your brother and sister. All of these phrases that I have up here, John uses multiple times throughout the passage. He's trying to give us a recipe. Love, because he wants us to get to this point. Love your brother and your sister. I love setting aside what I need and figuring out what my brother and sister need and help them with it. I love that. It makes me happy because I'm dwelling in the love of God and I know how much God loves my brother and my sister. I love doing those kinds of things. That's what John is saying. When we really are working our way through this recipe and interacting with our world, we love doing these things because we come from a place where we are filled. We are filled and we marinate in that. until it pours out of us, until that reflection, we can't keep that reflection from going out into the world. These are the things that we love. Love is not a currency that we hoard for ourselves or that we abuse in various ways. Love is a reflection that we release. Now, enough theory. I want to invite Pam and Doug up here because they are a couple who love well. And we want to give them some time to share their heart.
So, those of you who are married or have been married, think back to the day you got married. And the preacher or the minister, whoever officiated at your wedding, he had you repeat vows back to each other in sickness and health, rich or poor, good times or bad times. Pam and I have been through all that. And if you get married, you go through all that. It just happens. But Pam and I have been marinating for 42 years. So we're still in the marinating, using his terminology. And, I show my love to Pam by the things I do for her and the things we do together, whether I like it or not. Sometimes I don't like what we're doing, but I go anyway. Love is what we have, what we do. I used to use this hand. So she didn't know what I was going to say, and I don't know what she's going to say. So here you are.
Well, what I was going to say totally went out the window with what you were talking about, but I guess, being married for 43 years, we've learned a few things about each other. But one of the main things I think I've learned is that love really can be a sacrifice sometimes. And even in the church, when you're serving and so forth, you're sacrificing your time or your resources or whatever. But I think one of the most recent ones we've had is my husband and, both had to leave a house we had built in the valley and jobs we'd had for many years and our kids and our grandchildren to move here to Redmond. And it was ups and downs because the reason we came was because my mom passed away and my dad had never lived by himself ever. He'd gone from college to marriage and had never lived by himself, and so he had some needs. And I guess one of the things God's taught us is when you find a need, you try to fill it if you are capable of doing that, and he gives us the resources to do that. And so that was one thing that we did, was we moved here, and we've been blessed so much being here because we've met all of you, and we were preceded by, God had the plan all along. He knew what was going to happen, and he preceded us with good friends that when we came here, we weren't totally alone, And then he gave us a church family that we've grown to love and watch. And one of the biggest things we've watched here is what love you all have expressed, not only to us and to each other, but through the community. And so we see this all the time. From the hygiene bank to even just walking in the doors, and we're immediately loved by people who, just accept you, hug you when you come in the door and accept you for who you are, wherever you are. And so, I just would encourage people that if you're not feeling that, or if you're not challenged to love, you need to get closer to what the Lord is telling you to do and just listen. That's one of the biggest things for me, is I have to listen a lot, and then obey. But anyway, that's all.
Very good. She did much better.
Thank you. This is a love church. That's why I'm here. That's why they're here. That's why we're here. The love of God is core to who He is and who He's made us to be. And if you've been involved in love for 42 or 43 years, you know it's messy. And that's what I love about this passage in John, is if you cook very much, you know cooking is messy. All kinds of ingredients, all kinds of tools, and love is like that. It's messy. And we have a recipe here that I want you to take home this week and practice and chew on. And I want you to practice this with each other and with the world, because genuine love is exactly what our world needs, and it's exactly what you and I are made for. So go with Him this week. Thank you.